Welcome to Tycoons of Small Biz, a podcast designed for small business owners, the backbone of the American economy. Join us as our hosts Austin and Landon share insights and experiences as small business owners, active investors and operators who have started, bought, sold, and grown several successful businesses. Tycoons is powered by Backbone Planning Partners, a business consulting and wealth management firm built specifically to serve small and medium-sized businesses.
Hello, Tycoons, and welcome to today's episode of Tycoons of Small Biz. I'm your host here, as always, Austin Peterson, and I've got my co-host Landon Mance here as well. Landon, how are you, buddy?
Coffee-free Landon checking in.
So in other words, don't count on Landon for much in this episode. It doesn't sound like.
Yeah, basically.
All right. So yeah, today, Landon, we want to talk about, or actually, let me just start. If this is your first time listening, welcome. We're glad you're here. Hopefully you've heard some of our episodes in the past. Hopefully you enjoy what you hear today if it's your first time. But today we're going to talk about why a strong network is game changing. So, we've talked about networking in past episodes, but now we're talking specifically about a strong network, right? So Landon, let me kind of kick this off a little bit. And, when I think about this, there's a couple of things that come to mind for me. First is, I went to business school. I've got a lot of gray hair in my beard and on my head, where there's hair. Let me turn to the side so you can see that on the camera. And so, I'm older, and so I actually graduated with my MBA in 2008. So it's been 16 years since I finished my MBA program. But I think back to that when I think about a strong network, right? So it was a 2-year program. I went, I think it was 2 nights a week, every week for 2 years. And so you're working during the day and then you're going to school at night and you've got study sessions in between, all these kinds of things. It was a demanding time. And the education was good, but I had already owned my business or businesses at that point for several years. And so there were some things that I kind of already knew, so to speak, that were being taught in the program. Not to say that I didn't learn anything or that the education wasn't good, but the value of that program is really the 60 other men and women that I went to school with, right? Because they all had different backgrounds. They all come from different industries. They all have different experiences. And that network, for me to be able to call on that even 16 years later, like I talk to people, I have some clients who are former, students and members of the class. And so being able to reach out to somebody with different experience when something comes up and I go, oh, you know what? That person can help me on that. And I will reach out to that person. That was literally the biggest value of the MBA program. And I paid a lot of money, as most people do, to go to a 2-year program and have those letters behind your name. But it's really the network, as far as I'm concerned, compared to the education.
Yeah, no doubt. I wonder if one of the reasons behind that is because you guys made such a significant investment, a monetary investment into the program. Because if you think about, your alma mater, I'll speak for myself. If I think about my alma mater, I don't really have anybody that I went to college with that I still keep in touch with. So I wonder if that has to do with it. When you make a significant monetary investment into something, especially more as an adult, because you're still kind of a kid when you go to college, to an extent. And when you go to business school, you're generally not really a kid anymore. You're usually, a more, mature adult, because you're going, 25 to 35 years old, generally, as people, when people are going to business school. And, we're all starting college at, call it 17, 18, maybe 19 years old. So What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that has something to do with it? That you made a big investment, and so people are a lot more committed to the program. They're committed to building relationships, and they're committed to expanding their network.
I think it could have an effect, right? Because you're absolutely right. You've typically worked in the workforce for at least 3 years is kind of what they would like to see from an MBA program. The COVID, the pandemic, all that kind of stuff shifted that to where like they started accepting people right out of undergrad right into business school. And it's not that they haven't done it, but they typically want you to have some actual work experience before you go through an MBA program. So it could be that, but I would actually think that it's probably more so that you just at that point have a better understanding of the importance of relationships and having access to people who have experiences and background that you do not have.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Because looking back now, if I would have known what I know now about relationships and my network and business, then I would have definitely made a much more concerted effort to stay in touch with the people that I went to school with, in college, that, were in the same classes, studying the same things, facing the same challenges, and you're doing that with the same people for multiple years. But, like I said, I don't think I have anybody that I keep in touch with. Now, that being said, if I meet somebody on LinkedIn and I can see that we both went to Cal State Long Beach, there's an instant connection there, right? Even if we never knew each other, never spent any time with each other, maybe we don't really have a lot in common, but if you have that in common with somebody, that's a great way to, when you're looking to build and expand your network, that's a great way to connect with people because it's an instant connection point.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Another thing that comes to mind for me is, and we've talked about this a little bit on some past episodes, but you and I at different times, me still currently, have been part of Vistage groups, right? There's other ones out there. There's YPO, there's EO, there's these peer network groups where you're in there with other business owners and you've created this network with those groups, right? And so the power really comes down to, and if I haven't really kind of driven this point home, I don't know if I have, and that's that it's really about having people that you have a pretty strong connection with, that you like, you respect, you trust, that they know what they're doing in their particular field, or just that they bring value to you in some other way, right? And so you think to the times where whatever somebody's in need of a great CPA. Well, if you've got a network of one or two or a handful of CPAs that are great and that are great in certain aspects of tax, based on what they need, you can make a recommendation because you have a strong network. Or if you have a question or a need yourself about something, the idea specifically as a business owner, because a lot of times we're just on an island here, is that you've got to be able to right away think, oh, I should call Landon for this, or I should call Jim or Jessica, or whoever it comes to mind based on what it is that you need help with, right? So I'm part of a nonprofit here in the Valley, the Brain Injury Alliance of Arizona, and the head of that nonprofit will send me a quick text message from time to time and say, hey, do you have a few minutes to chat? I need to run something by you, right? That's because I'm part of her network, and she knows that as a decision that comes up that's, either financial related or business related, or just something that she's seen from our interactions in the past that makes her think, Austin's who I should call to get advice on this. She's able to do that because I'm somebody that she knows that she respects and that she trusts my judgment in certain areas that she may be lacking in. That's really what we're talking about here as far as a strong network is concerned.
Yeah. Yeah. I know there's an analogy for this, but I can't think of it right now. Again, going back to my brain fog I'm experiencing today, but it makes me think about getting advice, right? You can turn to anybody and get advice, but if you want to get high quality sound advice around a specific topic, there is a very finite amount of people that can do that for somebody. And I think for us, that's something that we've focused on for many, 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 many years, is building out our network of very competent, proactive, highly experienced practitioners, so that when our business owner clients come to us and say, hey, I need this, or I need advice on that, or I need to talk to somebody who's just reach into our proverbial bag and we pull that person out almost instantaneously, because we know that can do that for them and do that for them well, whatever it is that they actually need done, whether it's a service, a product, advice, a conversation based on experience, whatever the case may be. We know that we have somebody for what our client needs in that moment. And I think that's another thing that other professionals and other business owners can do to bring value to their network of people, is to have people like that they can just, at the drop of a hat, reach out to, and they can be very confident that the advice or the experience that they're going to rely on from this person is going to be really high quality.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really important point, Landon, because if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I don't know if that really matters. I mean, I've got people that I can rely on. I don't know if it's really a true network. If you own a business, you want to be able to bring more value to your clients or customers than just what you do for them, right? So let's say you own a tile cleaning company. Well, you want your clients to reach out to you for other stuff too, right? Hey, I was thinking about replacing my tile, or I was thinking about, cleaning my carpets too, or replacing my carpets. Do you have somebody that you recommend? If your clients are thinking of you to ask that question, you've got a client for life, because they know that you're bringing more value than just the service or the product that you offer to them.
Yeah, good point. And so let's just talk about a couple ways that business owners can actually do that and get to that point where they feel like they've got, a pocket full of professionals that they can, cherry pick when needed. One thing that comes to mind, well, you already mentioned peer groups, right? So peer groups are a great place to start. Vistage, EO, YPO, a new peer group, Tribe. Just got introduced to Tribe the other day. Our buddy Dale Majors up in Utah is a phenomenal entrepreneur, and he's starting some peer groups. So there's a lot of peer groups out there to check out. That's a great place to start, because that's going to generally attract pretty high quality, professionals and entrepreneurs. Some other places you can start would be like a BNI. So my partner in Nevada Tree Service, Luke, he joined a BNI, which is what's it stand for? Business Networking International, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So BNI and LATIP are probably the two most popular business networking groups. Some groups are certainly better than others, so you got to be really selective in the group that you join. But that's a great way to start building out your network of other professionals and business owners, so that when you run into the situation like you just explained, right? That was a great example of the tile cleaner, that you've got that network of people. So a BNI or a LATIP is a great place to start. And essentially what those groups do is they bring together a group of anywhere from 5 or 10 on the low side up to 40, 50, 60 on the high side. They're bringing together a group of business owners or solopreneurs as well together, generally weekly, and you're not collaborating per se, but you are coming together either physically in person or over Zoom, and you are sharing introductions and referrals. I think a group member talks every week and tells their story. So that can be a great way to start to build out your network of other professionals. A caveat to that is it takes a lot of time to really know that somebody is a competent professional that you can rely on for quality, advice. Like that's not something that you figure out over the course of a few weeks or a few months. Because sometimes you got to like refer people to them. You got to dip your toe in the water and kind of test things out and see how they react and how they handle certain situations, because that's what fills up your trust, and reliability bucket with somebody. It's a bunch of small little things that happen over time to where eventually you get to the point where you're like, gosh, I'd be silly to send my client to anybody else other than this particular person, because I know every time I send someone to this person, they do a phenomenal knockout job. And then it makes me look a lot better because I sent you somebody that is not just good or average, but they're exceptional.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you've got to feel comfortable referring somebody, because if it's a relationship that's important to you and you're referring them to somebody else, that reflects on you, right? So you've got to do your work, your due diligence, whatever. You've got to vet them. You've got to get to know them. You've got to, understand their work and their quality of work, really more importantly, before you're comfortable doing it. But having that network that you can turn to either for your own advice or for referring your own clients, it really is a game changer. It elevates you in the eyes of your clients. And then it just allows you to feel more comfortable that whatever comes your way as a business owner, as we all kind of muddle our way through this, building our businesses, that there's going to be somebody in your network that you can reach out to for advice on whatever it is that comes up that's brand new and that you're just not quite sure how to deal with.
Yeah. I saw I think it was a tweet from this guy named Clint. I think it's Fiore. You know who that is? He's the business broker. Yeah, he's the business broker up in out of Texas. And he did a post the other day, and he talked about how valuable building out his network has been. And he used a couple of examples. And the first example was because he's built out such a vast network, a social media network of tens of thousands of followers across his platform. He said, when I need to hire somebody, all I need to do is do one post and I'll get 10 to 15 great applicants for a position. So there is so much value in having a good network these days. And, that's something that we've been trying to focus on, is building up our social media network of like the right people. And it is not easy to do. It takes a lot of hard work and a lot of consistency and a lot of trial and error. And we are very much in that building period, because we've got decent networks, good networks, but we don't have great networks. And the power of having a really great network, it brings value in areas that you wouldn't even think about. Finding advisors, investors, operators, all of that can be done relatively easily if you have a really strong network.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's actually a great closing point for today, Landon, and something that, I'm glad you brought up, because I hadn't thought about it. I do know that it's something that I do not rely on heavily enough, is the social network, right? Because I don't know the exact number, but I've got, somewhere around 10,000 followers on LinkedIn, right? It's rare for me to post something on there asking for advice or asking for help. I mean, even just the mention that you just had, right? When we've made some hires in the past, like, why didn't we post something on our LinkedIn about what we were looking for, who we were looking for, to do the exact same thing that Clint just mentioned? So, we're not just here to give advice. We're here to learn as well. And we've, for me, I just noticed that that's something that you and I don't do nearly as well as we should. I've seen you do it a few times, looking for something for the tree company or whatever, but it's definitely not something that I use a lot. And for us inside of Backbone Planning, we haven't used it probably as well as we should have, because between the two of us, we've got probably close to 20,000 followers that we should, be tapping into, and are not doing as often as we should.
Yep. Well said. And we are not afraid to put ourselves on blast, are we?
Yeah, we don't have all the answers. We're here to provide a platform that hopefully, shares some advice with business owners that are out there and trying to muddle through. We definitely do give advice to business owners day in and day out. It's a big part of our business. But we even tell our clients, we don't know everything. But if we don't know the answer to something that comes up in our conversations and our engagements, we have a really strong network that we can rely on to get that taken care of for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Great place to end. And, guys and gals that are listening, we put this out to be a valuable resource to our network, right? So, any reciprocity would be greatly appreciated. Subscribe to our channel, like the posts. We've got a phenomenal newsletter and content program, and we'd love to plug you into it. There's no cost. So hit us up if that's something of interest. But thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one. To your success.